Hi, I'm Jenny from Refresh Living, and I'm going to show you how we took our pop-up camper roof and repaired it. It was completely destroyed from water, and rather than having to replace the whole roof, we figured out a way to keep the aluminum on top and repair the parts that were rotted away. So this video will show you how we rebuilt the rotted parts and started to put it back together.
So the first step we took was to repair the top part of our pop-up camper roof because the frame of some of it was just rotted and couldn't be salvaged, while some of it was still good. Unfortunately, I did not take many pictures of this step, but I made a diagram to kind of show what the frame of our pop-up camper roof looked like. So you can see here which boards we had to replace. All the ones in green were new 1x2 boards that we had to replace, and we attached them into the yellow boards that were already in our roof. And those boards were in good shape because most of the water was coming in through each of our corners, and the middle kind of part of our roof was actually fine. If we had needed to replace all of the wood, we would have taken the entire skin off and done it that way, but we actually were able to keep the skin on and the foam in place and just drill our new boards into that existing frame. So the next step was to rebuild the sides of the roof that had completely just rotted away. So what we did is we took the skin off of the rotted wood and we used that as a template to trace onto our boards to get the new side panel. We decided to use 1-inch thick pine boards rather than using plywood for the sides of our roof because for a couple of different reasons actually. First, we could use 1-inch thick board and we didn't have to join them together. If we had used plywood, it only comes in 8-foot spans, and we would have had to end up joining them, 2 pieces of plywood together. Also, it gave us a cool finished look inside the camper. We just kind of whitewashed the wood. And then 1-inch thick board is slightly thicker than 3/4 inch plywood as well. We bought a new roll of aluminum cladding, and we used contact cement to just adhere it to the boards that we cut out. The next step was to take those boards and attach them to the lifting brackets of our camper. After the 2 side boards were up, we worked on putting the front and the back of the camper's panels up. You can see that we used a router to just cut about a 3/4 inch thick groove into both the side panels at both the front and the back. We did this so that we could put the back and front boards on and then just screw trim screws kind of at an angle into those side boards. The other option would have been that we could have just cut the back and front boards to fit flush within the side boards, and then we could have screwed straight through the side boards and the aluminum into the back and front boards. The reason we decided not to do this was because it just was another access entry point for water later on. Whenever you're going through that aluminum, it just could be more susceptible to taking in water. So that's why we decided to do it the other way. But either way should work just fine. So after our sides and front and back frame was built, we just had to lift the top of our roof back onto the pop-up camper. So again, remember the top of our roof already has the rebuilt frame attached to it. So we just lifted it from the sawhorses right over the camper and on top of the camper. To secure it, we just used finish screws and just drilled right through the side panels into the frame on the top. Again, we used contact cement to adhere the old skin to the new back and front panels as well. Here's a look at the inside of the camper after the roof was attached. So you can see that the side boards are kind of we just whitewashed them, so you can still see the wood grain. And then we had those boards at the top running across just as support when we put the roof on top, but then we ended up taking them out after everything was done. You can see over here too the water damage that was there. So we ended up just letting it completely dry out there, and then we used ceiling panels to cover it up, which I will show you in a different video. So after everything was dry, we were good to keep the rest of the kind of ceiling there, and then we just covered over it for a cosmetic effect in the end. In my next video, I'll show you how we sealed up the roof to make it watertight and ready for use. Feel free to check out my blog, refreshliving.net, for other tutorials on our pop-up camper, as well as a ton of other home improvement and home decor DIY projects. Thanks for watching.